Welcome to the GSC Invitational, Generation 2's highest paying tournament yet, where 32 players fight to see who stands tall. And in the blue corner, we have ZF, a player with 26 wins and 20 losses in SPL at the time of me reading the spreadsheet. And he is known for lots of different tiers, although he has very hot takes in Gen 2 and brings very unconventional teams. And in the red corner, we have a player that needs no introduction with 56 wins and 39 losses at the time of seeing this spreadsheet in SPL, making him one of the biggest stars, one of the winningest players in SPL, and one of the most unconventional builders as well. He's even more to the side. If you've ever done something insane, he's done it even more. We have dice. Let's see how this game goes. And remember to donate to support the legacy. All right. We got Nido lead versus Lax. Thief. Okay. These players obviously know each other. They're known for more than just GSC. Dice especially for ADV, but anyways. In comes the Fori. Nido Fori is nice because it does well into other Nido Kings. It's a nice switch into Gengar. Not as threatened by Zapdos and can boom on it, but yeah. Zapdos has yet to deal damage. There it is. Oh, fuck. Just as I was recording, now there's someone using their drill. Anyways, we're going to just pretend that didn't happen. Nidoking coming in and out. There's a lot of probing for info here. ZF couldn't quite get much information. Dice stayed in the whole time, and that's sort of the beauty of using Zapdos, is that you can stay in, you can go toe-to-toe with Snorlax, and if the opponent second guesses themselves, they have to be honest. They can get punished for trying to switch too often. And now Dice is sort of in the lead. We do see a T-Bolt from Zapdos, from ZF's Zapdos. Could that indicate Whirlwind, or does he just prefer accurate moves? We don't know. This Fori is Hidden Power Fire, or it could be something else, but I'm not really looking at the calcs right now. It does spin. Oh, I'm on a squeaky chair. Cloyster. Cloyster looks like it can win the 1v1, so it should be free to lay the spikes. Dice is yet to reveal a Gengar. He has some of the most unique builds. Sometimes it's so out of the park that it doesn't work. And there is a Reflect. Reflect, very nice. It's not quite as safe as Protect, but it does offer some utility and some more backbone against the likes of Curselax. We're going to see if that's the case, but we haven't seen any Sleep Talk shenanigans. This Snorlax, we're going to see now if it is one. It is Sleep Talk, and it's safe behind that Reflect. This Tyranitar looks like it's offensive, and it only does 24%. With the Snorlax behind the Reflect. But that doesn't mean it's not going to matter. We're going to see that Confusion. Pokemon do check for Confusion if they click Sleep Talk while asleep. So, the ZF Snorlax does manage to go back to sleep and heals right back up just as ZF goes to Nidoking. But Dice predicts and clicks Earthquake, taking out the Nidoking. So, it's looking like ZF might have a Nidogar Tar. What? I didn't even know it could learn that. Counter Gengar, everybody. What? What? I didn't even register that. It went after. It survived an earthquake. And it countered. Holy shit. No. I'm okay. That's a second knockout. So Cloyster. Oh my god. Gets a crit on the 4E. These guys are going band for band. And Zapdos is in. Looking pretty threatening, to be honest. ZF, I would give the edge to ZF right now, but that Gengar took a lot of damage, took a lot of punishment from that hit. It's not going to be able to switch in willy-nilly, but he still can catch a boom. Wow, this Cloyster is dishing out a lot of damage. With the crit and all. That's the second crit. All of this damage is mattering here. We do see that both players run Sleep Talk, which makes sense because their teams would otherwise be so weak to certain special attackers like Jinx or even just Zapdos. And there is the last Montar. Or last as in last in order, not because it's the last one standing. Screech. Wow. I'm still flabbergasted. And Dice looks like he kind of has to stay in here. Judging by his plays, the Cloyster is going to survive a rock slide. Interesting to switch out there. I feel like Surf would have done the job. Goes to Zapdos anyways as ZF scrambles in and out. And here we see a Dragonite. I personally am not a fan of Dragonite, but you do see it often paired with Steelix. And, of course, Sleep Talk Lax, I guess, but it's a sort of less efficient Gengar, in my opinion. It does have all of that mixed offense, high power, lots of disruption. But of course, if there's one move you can be absolutely sure of coming in on safely, it's going to be Dynamic Punch. And so this Gengar comes in and deals more punishment to the D-Knight. We can't quite count it out yet, but Dice's options are becoming more slim. Unless he can pull off a rest, which doesn't look to be the case, as T-Bolt takes out the Zap. And now he really has to rely on his Sleep Talk Snorlax to do the job. Okay. I feel like if I'm ZF, I'm going to Whirlwind here. Yeah, that's what he does. And you can see the beauty that is Reflect. It makes Zapdos become a lot more threatening, being able to survive so much against the likes of Lax. But it's a little bit trickier now that it's paralyzed without rest and all. Or are we yet to see that there is a fourth move that is rest? Who knows? Anywho, probably not. But the Snorlax seems like it's key in this battle. Dice still opting to preserve the D-Knight here. ZF full paras. He might have gone for a Reflect, but now he's just going to go to his own Lax. Okay. rest. It's too soon to tell. But if ZF loses the Zapdos, then he's in big trouble because of this Cloyster here. And the Cloyster is free to boom or just deal a lot of damage. And by free, I mean hard-pressed to boom. But is he going to do it? No. ZF, composed as ever, manages to stay in with his most valuable asset. Or is it? Given that there's a Screech Tar in the back. We don't know. Oh! And though it doesn't deal the finishing blow, T-Tar is able to come in for free here. Oh, okay. Nice dodge. Not that that's going to change anything. Dice could only have hoped for a miss there. But unfortunately for him, ZF takes the first one. That was pretty nifty. That was pretty cool. And thank you guys for always supporting this channel. If you want, you can consider subscribing. We're going to move on to the second game. Dice in the bottom. In the red corner. Oh, wow. You don't see a turn 1 boom every day. I didn't even have time to say anything, but the Exeggutor booms on Zapdos. And now we're 5v5. As to be expected, there was a friendly little water type waiting for Zapdos to be beheaded. And so ZF's team is looking to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of Jinx and Gengar, but it's not. It's actually a little bit more standard than I thought. I thought it might have been some sort of cased victory hyper offense, but no, there's a Steelix here. Vaporeon is going to be pretty key in this matchup. Commentator's curse as the Cloyster explodes right in the face of that Vaporeon. I don't know what I was thinking, but sometimes when you're against the best of the best, you cannot know what the other person's going to do. It's a game of nerves here. Who has the nerves of steel, though? Oh, Rock Slide. ZF. Maintaining his promise. Being a very prolific builder right now. Just as I said. Very unconventional. With Counter Gar. Right now it looks like ZF is the one that's doing all the innovation right now. And this is kind of iffy because Rock Slide can kind of hurt. Roar, he predicts the switch out as he gains back a little bit more health. Is he going to click it again? He's going to click Curse. So now this Cloyster is pretty free to click Surf. Yeah, pretty obvious. ZF's last is obviously a Lax, but speaking of callouts, Dice just takes down the Gar. I don't think he was aiming to take away the leftovers from the likes of Cloyster, which was on a timer anyways. And Cloyster takes down yet another Pokemon. Jesus. 2 for 1. Lovely Kiss. That's our first Lovely Kiss of the set. Curselax. Expect to see more of that in the future, in future sets, because apparently it's a new thing. Well, new. It's not new, but it's coming back in style. And boom. Lovely Kiss, Curse, and boom. There's the one, the innovation there. Why? Oh, right. Okay. So Dice stays in with the Steelix as he sort of expects that his Steelix is going to be able to go and 1v1 the opposing Steelix. Now consider that ZF did not have Explosion. So that also meant that his Steelix was most likely going to be able to tank at least one Earthquake. And so ZF would not have been able to trade. If it had been another context without Rock Slide, then he simply would have gone to Zapdos. All right. We're here to see who's going to move on into the winner's bracket, as this is a double elimination. Game 3. Hope you guys enjoy. We got ourselves the uber aggro T-Char lead. Right off the bat, going with a dynamic punch. ZF is not pulling any punches. As Dice goes to his Starmie, but he might take a T-Bolt here. Nope. ZF decides to go to Snorlax as Dice finds a moment of opportunity to bring in his Forretress in what looks to be a stall team. Son of Thorns, the Blackthorn. He goes to his Tar, sort of threatening the Fori. Depends if ZF takes the bite. Yes, he does. He does. So he is ever aware of the possible threat of a Fire Blast, and he goes to his Lax and doubles back in the Fori. But he is going to take a hidden power as he is behind in the Spikes War, and this is going to be a big deal because ZF Dice definitely has a stall team. And so controlling of the surroundings is going to be very important. Thief is very helpful, and this time around ZF does manage to thief a Raikou. It looks like it's the third game that ZF brings Gengar, which is interesting. I've personally used some of his teams. We see Skarmory making a debut as it comes in on the Earthquake Lax and using Toxic. It should be safe. But you can never tell with these players. They might even have Boom. Who knows? In comes the Mii. And it's a very safe move to click sub here. Yes, he does take damage. But one good roll means he'll be able to spin the spikes. ZF, he has his game senses on, and he's come to play. He manages to block one Rapid Spin. Giving him the momentum for the moment. But how is he going to counteract the obvious Skarmory switch-in? Is he going to double? Doesn't seem to be the case. Whirlwind, and a Zam is revealed. So we have Aggro Tar and Zam. That's kind of interesting. I'll pause for a second just to comment on that aspect. So we have all-out attacking Tar, which has a lot of wall-breaking potential. Could break something like Skarmory or Snorlax, which Alakazam would definitely benefit from. But I give the advantage to Dice over here because for the moment at least, he has two spinners, or maybe one and not two. It really depends. Actually, I'm pretty sure in a recent video, BKC was commenting ADV, and he was talking about he actually referenced the fact that there are stall teams in GSC where you have the benefit of a second spinner on those 4A teams, but you don't have to necessarily run that second spin. Dice goes to Starmie as ZF comes in with Gar. So Dice kind of aware of what ZF is trying to do at the very least. And he kind of needs an opening. ZF, with the lax double, is going to take 25%, even without getting hit because of poison and spikes. Meantime, Dice is going to spin, but this is very interesting because Dice knows that the Snorlax is going to take damage from poison and recoil. So, the double edge, the poison and spikes from the previous turn have brought the Snorlax down despite not being hit at all. So Starmie is free to use Recover here, and ZF is going to have to forfeit those spikes, which puts Dice in an advantage, and it's just Earthquake. It's an Earthquake Sleep Talk Lax, so chances that ZF is going to break past here are very slim. He's going to have to catch Dice lacking, but Dice has to make sure he continues to make defensively proactive plays. With Toxic and Whirlwind, he can phase and rack up some passive damage. So that's always nice to have. He's in no position where he has to make the aggressive play, but he also doesn't want to simply do the predictable play. So, anything can happen. Like a turn like this one, for instance, could be game-changing because the Raikou has no leftovers, first of all, but also it could get crit and die to double edge. So, what's also interesting is Alakazam is one of the few Pokemon that outspeeds Raikou and can come in on a predicted rest turn and click Encore, forcing it to click rest and burn turns of sleep without it being able to do anything. T-Tar takes some damage here, but it more than likely is going to be able to rest off. Now, the funny thing is that Dice has made another example of a proactive play. I'm sorry, I've been commenting not important turns. I'm going to try to avoid that as much as possible. I want to favor the algorithm here. I don't want the algorithm to punish me. But let's have another look at this turn. Sorry about that, guys. T-Tar, it is a Pursuit Tar. Why did it come in? I guess it just came in to protect the team. But it's also nice because it can flinch the Snorlax or something like that. ZF is going to try and get some damage, but you see 29%, the Snorlax is very low. So it's going to be very hard. ZF decides to switch out because he doesn't have a choice. So the Rock Slide would have killed there. And now ZF is in a lot of trouble because he doesn't have an electric resist on that team at all. And his Snorlax was his best answer, so he will have to find an opening and either spin the spikes or just get lucky. But the next time, the only thing in his favor right now might be the fact, Fortress gets outsped and will get killed here. So the only thing that's really going to benefit ZF is the fact that Raikou is very low. But it could come in on a T-Bolt next turn. Actually, it would most likely survive a T-Bolt from Zapdos. But I don't think Dice wants to do that. Oh my god, Dice is a madman. Wow. Holy, he's really trying to swing for the cleaners, if that's what the expression is called, though, you know me, I always make blunders. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. So, no, that's not what it is. He's swinging for the fences. Oh my god. Guys, don't even. All right. Anyways, it's incredible because Dice is dealing a lot of damage. It's actually proving to be a little bit effective because he knows there aren't that many there isn't a real rock resist. There isn't an electric resist. He can just wait for a Mon
to lose, and then he's free to bring in Raikou. He doesn't have to worry too much. The Lax... Oh god, it doesn't die here. It doesn't die to Hidden Power. That was a really good turn. Holy crap. ZF, man. That was insane. Okay. Good shit. Good shit. What is Dice going to do? Is he going to do another aggro surf? Nope. I mean, the aggressive plays, they are doing something, but I'm not sure how necessary they are. Wow, and he doubles right to T-Tar. And it's Curse Tar. It's not Pursuit. That's interesting. Lots of players on this specific 6 prefer Curse, while others prefer Pursuit. The first victim is down on turn 55. I believe Tar is slower than this Fori, so ZF is also going to get a spin, but it's going to come at the cost of a... What? Oh... What? Rock Slide Curse T-Bolt? It's going to come at the cost of the Spinner Spiker. What the fuck? Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so the sequence here was... Instead of going for Surf on what was on a Tar that was obviously going to switch out, Dice anticipates and goes to Fortress. He also has Protect to scout for a Fire Punch. Some Alakazam run Fire Punch, some run Toxic. One way or another. Okay, there's the Toxic, though. Dice is being very diligent. He goes to what obviously can absorb the Toxic without an issue. And we still don't know if it's Sleep Talk. I'm going to guess that the Snorlax is Sleep Talk. But you don't know for sure. And we still haven't seen a T-Bolt from ZF's Tar. Once again, the scenario seems to repeat itself, but we haven't seen Dice ever cautious of that potential Fire Punch. But now he's not going to assume anymore that it is Fire Punch because he's already seen enough moves. And usually Toxic is the outlier. So out of 4 moves, Psychic, Recover, Encore... The 4th is usually either Toxic or Fire Punch. And now he's staying in. He's a Steel type, so he's not too concerned with the Alakazam here. He goes to Skarm. Although I wouldn't bring in Skarm here. It's like the one thing that's keeping him from losing against Sleep Talk Lax. And it's Thunder Punch. Yeah, Thunder Punch also makes sense, but he has Thunder Punch instead of Encore, not Thunder Punch instead of... Toxic. So that works against Starmie. That's why Thunder Punch exists. So Rock Slide. This Tar looks pretty threatening, I'm not going to lie. He doesn't even have to Curse. He can. Now would be a good time to. But he doesn't have to. Because every other target on ZF's team does not have Rest. And so it's going to take they're going to take a lot of damage. What does Dice do? He rests. Okay. Fair enough. Now, it looks pretty obvious here. The game can last longer. Oh, we see Surf. Okay. The game can last longer, but... unless the Gar can pull something off, I don't see ZF winning this. Okay, Skarmory's going to rack up some passive damage here. Never mind. Fortress. Okay, making safe switches is always a good play. Just doubling back and forth, sure, why not? as ZF has to consume PP. He made such a good showing in that second game, but I'm going to give this one a dice, honestly. I know it's only turn 82 of what potentially could even prospect to be like 200 turns, but I don't see anything new Okay. Still, he just needs one toxic, and that tar is on death's door. Alakazam is likely going to die here on this turn, or the next, or the one after. We don't know. Is he trying to sack the Raikou? Or is he trying to bring it in on Gengar? He just needs to burn a couple of turns of sleep, but he's not finding an opening. The Fori looks pretty good here. Just being the safe switch. He manages to bring Tar in, so he's going to be able to burn 1 and perhaps even 2 turns of sleep. So this is going to be the deciding factor. It's, can ZF hacks his opponent enough to win? But he keeps switching out. He's not... The window of opportunity is becoming narrower over time. And the Protect is a very underrated move on Fortress. It's really good. It's just such a good safe switch on an already safe move on an already safe switch. It's just really mixes things up. Curse Rest. Interesting of Dice to stay in here. I would avoid that if I can. Although he is running out of PP. Son of Thorns. Dice is playing a little bit more aggressively than I would like. He's putting himself in a situation where he has to make plays. And that's his offensive win con right there. I wouldn't try to throw it away. Okay, so he does go for the Rock Slide, and I suppose... I'm not sure that would have killed. Fori coming in, being the best possible switch for the T-Tar here. Yeah, he goes for the Toxic. Yeah, exactly. That's what you want to do. You want to bring in Snorlax and just rack up as much damage as possible. Of course, he doesn't want to prompt in Gengar, but come on. Sleep Talk. We see a Surf. Okay. Yeah. Not bad. I mean, the Surf makes perfect sense. It's for Golem and Steelix, which check the Tar. So, yeah. Very anti-offense. Very, I'm going to keep this in mind if I ever want to build a team like that. Or, try this out. I could see this working against a lot of teams. It just so happens to be that ZF didn't bring neither a Cloyster nor a Golem or Steelix to take advantage of. So Tar and Gengar together are very annoying. And I'll admit that Alakazam is also being kind of a defensive backbone here for an offensive team and for a Glass Cannon. That's kind of weird. But the fact that it has recovery means that it's going to have to come in more often. This is very scary, staying in on a Gar like that. So he brings in the Raikou. Of course, he can afford to lose it if he's going to lose something. He goes for the Sleep Talk, and he does get the rest. Much needed rest at that. That's going to help him out a bit. Now ZF is really hard-pressed to go to his Snorlax. And now, with many opportunities for the Raikou to come in, he's going to be able to deal damage guaranteed. So, with Raikou back at almost pristine health, the Skarm Coup core is going to be really strong, And like I said, the window of opportunity is becoming narrower and narrower for ZF here. Toxic Whirlwind Rest Curse. There is no taunt in Gen 2, and so some abominations like this exist for all of you ADV players out there. I mean, I don't find it an abomination. I think it's pretty cool. But I sympathize with the ADV and modern generation players. Any game that was made after the year 2000 is modern for me. So, Zam comes in. Tar. Yeah, that's just a good way to pressure, get some lefties back. I'm pretty much going to try and click a little faster here so we get some things going on. Sorry, I skipped a turn. There you go. Whoopsies. The Snorlax. Lax on Lax. Lax on Lax crime. Scarm. Damn it, man. All right. Permission to put this on fast. Okay. It's going to help a little. Some switches, nothing going on. Yeah, okay, so Snorlax is probably going to come in every time that Zam comes in. So as you can see, there's a lot of switches, and that's more or less because when you're using a defensive team, you want to check the boxes. You want to have a specific Pokemon being your go-to against a certain threat. So for instance, Lax is going to come in on Zam, and if Lax is weakened, then it's going to be Fori or Tar. Fori and Scarm can come in on Lax. Raikou can come in on Gar, so that way the Lax has more breathing room. And the really scary one from ZF's team is going to be his own T-Tar, but it's the one key to victory. So he gets a Rock Slide, and there's the flinch. And that Lax is going to go down. Okay, it's really just a matter of time. There's a much-needed crit for ZF. He still does have a slight chance, but he decides to stay in and takes a Toxic. So now T-Tar is on death's door. That's basically an ultimatum. Dice is leaving the Fori in. He knows at this point that if he doesn't win in the next couple of turns, I mean ZF doesn't win in the next couple of turns, then Dice has this. And he's going to bring his Tar, and there's nothing that can switch in right now. No Rock Resist. Oh man, the bait and switch. Yes, that will help the Dynamic Punch. Lax, oh god, hits itself in confusion and takes poison damage too. Okay. He's still in this. ZF still has a chance. Somehow. Incredibly. Okay, now he pretty much doesn't have a chance. Like, now it really doesn't matter. Not even the Toxic is going to help him at this point. I mean, he needs to make sure that his Tar... Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't stay in here, because that's like the one way to lose. If he had taken out the Tar, then he would have somehow had a chance to take out the Raikou and the Scarm. But now the game is sealed. Yes, he does manage to bring it down 2-0. But still, Dice played very proactively. He played a very nice game of stall. An offensive kind of stall. And I hope you guys learned something from this. I didn't really go too in depth because it was already long as things were standing. So I hope you guys enjoy. Remember, you can support the legacy. You can also subscribe and stay tuned for more.